Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and today in the arena, I have a frog in my throat. Sorry, I should warn you before I do such a thing. And we're also going over the Orzhov Syndicate. A quick thank you to my sponsor on the channel, CoolstuffInc.com, as well as Esports Gold, my two major sponsors making these videos happen. So thank you to both of you. And then we move right into it and say, what is the Orzhov Syndicate? What are they into? Well, the main thing from this deck is Afterlife. This mechanic creates a 1/1 flying black and white spirit token whenever a creature with Afterlife dies. And we can see right away that they hook us up, the wizards, the creators of this Orzhov Syndicate deck that you get. We get hooked up with a whole bunch of these kind of effects. Orzhov Enforcer has Afterlife, and Oligarch has Afterlife, Obligation has Afterlife, and we get a Teysa Karlov, which doubles the effect of something when it dies. So what we're looking for are death effects, and then we would like ways to buff our tokens and make them do more. A good example of a way to make our tokens do more is Ethereal Absolution, +1/+1 to all of our creatures, especially effective when you have tokens. Also, when our creatures die, Cruel Celebrant triggers, which makes us lose 1 life and makes the opponent lose 1 life, and we gain 1 life. So what you're looking for as we go through our collection for cards to go in this deck and maybe replace some of the cards that don't do as much for us, we are looking for cards that make tokens, buff tokens, and have effects when they die. We also might be in the market for some good removal spells, although Mortify and Kaya's Wrath and Despark are some pretty decent removal spells that we already have in the deck, so I'm not as worried about the removal side of things. So let's look through our collection and try to find some cards that might go well in the deck. Hunted Witness, when it dies, it creates a soldier with lifelink. That's a very cheap dies trigger. I don't know if we'll want all 4, but we'll add them for now and see what happens. Some might say a Johnny's Pride Mate because we have cards that gain life. The life gain in this deck is a side effect. It's not the main thing that we're going for. So I'm going to leave the Pride Mate over here just for a while. Raise the Alarm creates tokens. We've already talked about some token synergy and ways to get a lot of tokens. I might have more uses for this if we find enough token synergy. I'm not sure that we will, but we'll add it for now just to keep in mind. We have a 3rd Ministrant of Obligation we might use in the deck, so good to know. Unbreakable Formation can increase the size of all of our tokens and give them indestructible till end of turn, which might be worth it. Just any ways to kind of buff up those tokens can be nice. We have Conclave Tribunal, which can hit any target. Like I said, our removal spells are pretty good already. I'm not sure that I need a Conclave Tribunal in the deck, but it might be something to keep in mind if our removal spells aren't doing their job. Moving on down the list, I see a number of decent cards, but nothing that really stands out to me. I don't think Confront the Assault is good enough. 5 mana for 3 1/1s is okay, but the fact that you can only play it when you're getting attacked is a big problem. The fact that we have tokens in the deck might mean that Venerated Loxodon is a good boost for them. I think it's worth considering. It's not the ideal boost, but it's still one that you want to think about. How about Sephara Sky's Blade? We have 2 of them, and we have a whole bunch of Afterlife creatures that make 1/1 flyers. It's just too tricky to get to, right? We have to sacrifice our own Afterlife creatures, turn them into flyers, and then perhaps we can play the Sky's Blade? I think it's too wishful thinking. Duress is a very nice card, but I don't think here. I think we need to stay very proactive, with a lot of creatures hitting the battlefield very regularly. What else? Midnight Reaper goes right with what we're trying to do. Whenever a creature dies, deals the damage to me, draw a card. That card can definitely be slotted in. Plaguecrafter lets us sacrifice our Afterlife creatures while getting rid of an opponent's creature or planeswalker. I think we can run 4 of that card. Blood for Bones is another interesting one when you have Afterlife creatures. It can keep our important creatures coming back over and over to use their effects and creating more and more tokens. And since we have a lot of small sacrificial creatures anyway, I think that Blood for Bones might be a backbone of the deck. We'll have to find out. And Cavalier of Night stands out to me as well as another card that lets me sacrifice an Afterlife creature, get back an Afterlife creature when it dies, kill an opposing creature. Seems very strong. Then the Bolus's Citadel. We've seen this win games for us already, and we know we're going up to 6 mana because Ethereal Absolution is already in the deck, and it's a bomb. So I'm going to roll with the Citadel. It's a good way to pay for that life that just kind of shows up incidentally. In the black-white card category, we are still we don't have that many more black-white cards to add. We could add another Bellhaunt, which is a very good card. I'm also a much bigger fan of Scoured Barrens gaining life than Guildgate, which there are some Guildgate synergies in the format, but not that many. I also want to replace some of these swamps and plains, because I don't want to get stuck in a situation where I can't play my Citadel because I don't have enough black mana. And this might be a 26 land deck, although we have been rolling with 24 in most of these builds, and it's been okay. But yeah, I think something like this is okay. We might want an Orzhov Locket, I don't know, a little bit of ramp. If we are missing 3-drops, I don't think we're missing 3-drops at all, but a Locket can go in the deck to try to bridge it to the more expensive spells. I just think that we already have really good 3-drops that we want to play. So the last thing to check would be, are there any artifacts that fit into our theme? And I'm not a big fan of anything going on here. Not yet. The Icon of Ancestry can boost spirits, but then searching for spirits is awkward because we don't have that many. Basilica Bellhaunt is a spirit, but most of the rest of the things that have afterlife and make spirits don't do that. So I don't think Icon works the way we want it to. And yeah, I think that covers everything. We could run a Guildmage's Forum in this deck because we have some multicolored creatures, but I don't think I have enough of them to really risk messing up my mana. So I'm going to leave the Guildmage's Forum at home. And is there a deck where I would run this card? I don't think so. I don't think you ever want to pay more mana for your creatures for a +1/+1 counter. I don't think that that's a very good look. So I've got 78 out of my 60 cards. Let's work on the trimming. What cards definitely don't fit this? Unlikely Aid is an interesting card that I just don't think we need, as much as I like the Gideon riding, the Rakdos art. Consecrate Consume has this sacrifice a creature with the greatest power and exile a card from a graveyard to draw a card. It's a good split card, but we already have 4 Plague Crafters and ways to get them back, so I don't think this fits in. Love the Celebrant. Despark is an interesting card. It often lacks targets, though. I don't know if we want 2. We may only want 1. The Imperious Oligarch and the Pitiless Pontiff are some of the cards that the deck is built around to always be able to sacrifice. This gaining Death Touch and Indestructible is really strong, works well with tokens. Revival can get back some of our key cards, actually just a key card in Priest of the Forgotten Gods. That may make it not that good. I guess we can also get back Plague Crafters, which is nice, and Midnight Reaper, but we get so much more value out of Blood for Bones than we do out of Revival Revenge. As much as I love it, because it's a rare card in the Orzhov colors, I just don't think it's strong enough. I don't know. If there is ever a time to give Revival Revenge another chance, isn't it now? Unbreakable Formation, I think we're sacrificing our creatures too often to worry about making them large, so I'm going to cut it. 4 Plague Crafters, a Midnight Reaper, some Blood for Bones, Vindictive Vampire, a little too weak, even if it does fit the strategy. Love the Kai's Wrath, love the Bellhaunts, mostly because of the amount of like mono red and having something with a strong ETB to get back with Blood for Bones. The Loxodon can go, in my opinion. Grasping Thrall is definitely one of the cards that can go, in my opinion. Bellhaunt, so much better. Sunblade Angel, extremely overpriced, can go. So now looking down the line, we have 7 cards to cut. I really feel like I want actual creatures, not raise the alarm because of Blood for Bones. I want to be able to get things back that are quality. I also don't think I need this many Hunted Witness. They're decent. They're not great. How's our creature count? 30 creatures. It's a lot of creatures, you guys. We're pretty covered on the creature front. I love the Mortifies. I probably don't need all of them, having Plague Crafters as well, but I don't know that I need Despark. It can hit a Planeswalker, whereas a Mortify can't, but we have four Plague Crafters, so I think it's worth giving that a trim, and I just don't know if I need all these Hunted Witness. Definitely a bit more of a mid-range deck, and that's okay, but it also means that your 2-drops aren't nearly as important. I don't know if I need this many Pontiffs. We can probably just trim a couple of the numbers here. 3 Cruel Celebrants are probably still nice. 3 Ministrant of Obligation still feels very nice to me. Maybe we don't need all the Mortifies, as much as I love them. No, we need to keep some extra removal around. I don't know. We have Cavalier of Night, too. Maybe I don't need them. It's still very tempting to pull the Revival Revenge off. Send that card to the bench. And maybe we don't need all the Bell Haunts. Tough choices down the stretch here. I'm going to go down to 2 Witness. They're pretty low power level. They're not a great top deck. We'll sleeve up the deck. And this is the version of the Syndicate I'm going to run. When tuning the deck, look for cards that work with Afterlife. Try to avoid the overall life gain strategy and look for things that involve sacrifice, death triggers, and Afterlife, and ways to kind of get more value out of that. Let's go see how the deck plays. This hand is just what we're looking for, so we're going to keep it most certainly. Bolas's Citadel is a good cake topper if we end up in a bogged down board state, and we've got the Celebrant with the Oligarch with the Teysa, one of our key rares, so we're on the move. Our opponent opening with a Mountain and a Grim Initiate, so an aggressive red deck would not be a surprise. Let's go ahead and gain a life off our Scoured Barrens and demoralize the opponent immediately. If their plan is to kill us as quickly as possible, we just gained 1 life and made it harder. Black-red, perhaps a sacrifice deck, similar to one I just made for my other YouTube channel. Here's Diregraph Ghoul, and the Initiate gets in. So the opponent firmly on the beatdown plan. I like to lead here with the Imperious Oligarch. Come on down. Judi Dench. At least that's who it reminds me of. Who does she remind you of? Anyway, can pair off against the Diregraph Ghoul very well, and is difficult to kill because the opponent will have to remove the Oligarch and then remove the Spirit if they wish to hit our face. But here's Judi. And Judi, I mean, that's a perfect curve. Creature Judith is very strong. So blocking here, the opponent will amass, make an army token. Not particularly great. Plus they'll, from a creature dying, actually their creature wouldn't die because of first strike. It's just not a good deal. So let's take the damage. Let's get a Cruel Celebrant down so that when things start dying, we gain some benefit from it. The other option is to play Craft right here, right now. I can also attack. Our Oligarch will probably get in there. The opponent won't really want to block. Let's do that before. Well, we'll want to play the Celebrant first in case they do block. Plaguecrafter is not good as long as the Initiate's around. So let's go with you. Let's swing with the Oligarch. The opponent blocks now. At least we get a little gain and drain from the Cruel Celebrant. And that's a hit. Here's the Guild Gate, so that our mana can be silky smooth for a while afterwards. Next turn, hopefully we play Teysa, so we get double triggers off of our Celebrants. And that puts us in a position where I don't think we want to block. Liliana, untouched by death. Well, you're not a zombie, but these two are.
And the dead answer.
Liliana can -2 to give -2/-2 to another thing. Liliana can plus to try to put a zombie in the graveyard and drain us for 2. And there's the -2. So, a little trigger, just one little trigger from the Celebrant. Initiate coming at me. Still not in a good position to block, and the opponent holds back the Ghoul, probably to protect Liliana. Let's at least make that awkward by playing Teysa Karlov, and now we get 2 1/1 spirits if the opponent blocks for Liliana here. But some people love their Planeswalkers. Now the opponent also gets this Judith trigger. Since it's our turn, I believe the Judith trigger has to target something before the 1/1s are created, and that is the case. If it were the opponent's turn, if this exchange happened on the opponent's turn, our 1/1s would appear, then the target would happen. So Judith could be killing the 1/1s if the situation were reversed. And although our opponent got off to an amazing 1, 2, 3, 4 start, we are sort of in the game. We have one of our powerful cards out here. Now, if Teysa gets removed, we're in a lot of trouble. And we do need to draw more Afterlife cards. A Blood for Bones would also be very nice. Liliana ticks up, does hit a zombie in the Dreadmaw Kin, as well as another Liliana Planeswalker. So we get drained for 2. That's how the +1 works. Put the top 3 cards of the library into the graveyard. If one of them is a zombie, lose 2 life, gain 2 life. Rakdos zombies. And it's been a feisty one so far. Here is a Blood Crypt tapped, the opponent thinking deep about what play to make. Possibly about whether or not to attack with an Initiate. I do feel we block this Initiate. No, we really don't, do we? Because if we block with Teysa and the opponent has anything like a Shock, they'll kill off the Teysa. So, no, can't take a block here. It also puts it on Judith to possibly block to defend. And here is a second Judith. This will Legend Rule the first one, so one of the Judiths has to die. But that creates 2 Judith triggers, which can then target, or a Judith trigger, only one. No, 2. Yeah, there were 2. They see each other. It was just slow to react. So they get to kill off the spirits with those triggers. Greatly annoy me. Ethereal Absolution can be an absolute bomb if we can get the mana online for it. Let's go ahead and play Cruel Celebrant. I think we attack the Teysa into the Liliana before playing the Playcrafter, because the opponent will certainly sacrifice the Grim Initiate, which will give them a blocker for the Teysa. Liliana down to 1. Here's the Playcrafter. Let's sacrifice our Celebrant, as much as I love our Celebrant. Not a very good combatant on this board. The opponent will give up the Grim Initiate, but at least we'll have a 3-2. No, they won't. They will give up Liliana. Perhaps they have another Liliana? It's an interesting choice, and shows a lot of love for the 2/1 first striker. Field of Ruin. Sacrifice, destroy a non-basic land. And the Rotting Regisaur, an 8/6 Rotting Regisaur. We're gonna need something. The top of our deck needs to be kind. Very, very kind. Here's an attack. Can we afford to take it? I think we have to. We have to try to hold our blockers for the Rotting Regisaur to buy us as much time as possible. We can certainly pull enough chump blockers. And our next draw is probably a good one. The worst thing that could happen is a tapped land, like a Scoured Barrens or a Guildgate. All right, that's decent. If this dies, I get 4 1/1s. Those can block the Rotting Regisaur for a very long time. We don't have a good attack here because of the Regisaur, but we're certainly playing the Ministrant of Obligation. No attacks. Opponent thinking about this Field of Ruin. A reason to use it might just be to thin the deck. That is, remove more lands from your deck so you don't have to worry about drawing them later. A reason to keep it would be if our opponent expected we had an Arch of Orazka or some kind of a land that created value. There's no reason to really suspect that right this moment. Alright, let's get the Swamp. We have the Citadel. We don't want to get bottlenecked on black. We may want to play multiple black spells in a turn. Every decision, a careful one. There's also a bit of a pause right now when you select a basic land with the field or with Assassin's Trophy or anything that selects lands. I don't know where that came from. It feels like lag. It's just, the game just sticks. Hopefully they'll get rid of that with a future update soon. Who wants to tango? Regisaur wants to tango. Alright, jump in front. I will take 4 1/1 flyers. Thanks to the doubling ability. And what was your draw? Is it a good one? Diregraph Ghoul. One of the downsides of playing decks with a lot of 1-drops, like we discussed with Hunted Witness, is when you draw them late, they're not that good. So all of our tokens now have Vigilance and Lifelink, which is very strong when you're in a race with a deck with a lot of creatures on the ground. So there's the life gain. Here's another Ministrant of Obligation to keep the party going. And with 1 land, the Ethereal Absolution pumping our tokens could end the game. Will the opponent attack with the Regisaur? If they do, I'm definitely blocking with the Ministrant of Obligation again, as a top-decked untapped land is game over. Not quite, but Cavalier of Night is not bad. It can come down, sacrifice one of my creatures, kill the Rotting Regisaur, and then the opponent would die on the next turn. So they scooped it up, seeing the writing on the wall. Alright, black and white lands with Bellhaunt, Kaya's Wrath. Some good stuff if we draw another black source. Let's put our faith in the deck to deliver. Probably leaning on the Oligarch, but let's see what our opponent plays. The 2 power versus the 1 power, as this may get some sweet attacks in. And it's a red mana. Alright. Come on down, Judy, and your sweet hat. Let's bring it. Red-blue, electrostatic field. Well, that cuts us off and makes me wish I'd played the Enforcer, but how could you know? So here I attack anyway, just in case the opponent doesn't want to block. They might be scared about their field dying. But they do block. There was nothing to lose. Vigilance means we don't tap to make that attack. So this is definitely a spot where we want to get the Swamp for the Bellhaunt and then Blood for Bones to bring the Bellhaunt back multiple times, gaining that life, forcing cards out of our opponent's hand. And Dive Down will be discarded to Tormenting Voice, shocking yourself to play a Steam Vent and a Light Up the Stage. Opponent definitely on some kind of a Drake turbo card deck. It can fire off a lot of spells and deal a lot of damage. And it leaves us in a spot where we're in this awkward race that I don't know if we can really win, but we're at least going to play out our cards, play our creatures, try to top deck the land, gain some life with the Bellhaunt, gain some time. Let's see what our opponent does with this Lightning Strike. They can strike a creature or the face, and apparently face is the place. So some of this incidental life gain could be key, if we get a chance to play it. Alright, not till next turn, but come next turn. Anyway, let's attack. We'll show our opponent the Scoured Barrens after the attack, so they don't know. They might have our life total miscounted in some way, if they were going for the perfect lethal by going face instead of touching our creatures. Radical idea. Draws an extra card, does an extra damage thanks to the field. Feeling good. Here's an Electromancer. That means more spells. And the radical ideas keep on coming. But then the opponent passes. So do I mind? I don't mind turning this into a 1/1 lifelink token because gaining a life could make a big difference in the game. So here, I think the play is Bellhaunt, and I think we're attacking with everything just to try to keep some pressure on the opponent's life. And the Enforcers will get some pokes in. Here comes our Soldier Boy, and we'll play the Swamp. We'll Bellhaunt for 3 life and make the opponent discard a card. At some point, when the opponent has all their key stuff on the field, we may have to Kaya's Wrath it away. I don't mind this Bellhaunt getting caught up in that if I have a Blood for Bones ready to go. Next turn might also just be Blood for Bones sacking Bellhaunt, bringing back Bellhaunt, and putting a Witness in our hand to then replay to the battlefield. Blink of an eye out of there. Gutter Snipe comes down. That is definitely a card that may be worth wrathing. Yeah, might have to wrath this board now. Because every spell now is worth another 2 damage. Plaguecrafter. It'd be great to get extra value out of the Plaguecrafter by getting it into the graveyard first. But man, am I worried about this Gutter Snipe. So I think we attack here and cast the Kaya's Wrath. I don't think the opponent will block any of our Afterlife creatures, so we will be left with 3 1/1s. And we'll gain some extra life from the Wrath itself. See what happens. Let's see what happens. Opponent hasn't blocked the Bellhaunt yet, and they certainly could with the field. Alright, down to 7. Let's blow them. Let's blow them up. No Gutter Snipes, please. opponent. Looking at the cards, I'm very worried about Ionize, a counter spell here that the opponent could play for 2 mana with the Electromancer. Instead, it's Shock Your Face. And probably have a Radical Idea to deal another 3. But then we gain 4 life. Oh, blink your own Gutter Snipe. That is crafty. But hopefully that means I can get crafty too with my Plague Crafter. Alright, we still have some 1/1s to try to carry this game. The Gutter Snipe returns. And, oh, that sucks. Now we can't get rid of the Gutter Snipe. We can play Hunted Witness, though, and Hunted Witness can get back the Bell Haunt. But what's probably better is playing a Plague Crafter and having the Plague Crafter in the graveyard so that we can get it back with the Blood for Bones to potentially kill something next turn. I'm also trying to think about what blockers I might need. If I'm going to play the Witness after, and I'm going to sack Plague Crafter to itself, the Witness is the blocker. Hiya. Alright. Yeah, we'll get you into the graveyard. It's a little risky, but I'm more worried with my own life total than even my opponents here, even as I have a sort of lethal threat. But the threat is still lethal either way. This thing can add up a ton of damage. You have no idea. Okay, there's Blink of an Eye, bounce a token, draw a card. It's not great. Pretty average as far as plays you can make when you have Gutter Snipe cooking. So, let's do this. I'm going to sacrifice this Hunted Witness. I'm going to get back the Plague Crafter directly to the battlefield. I'm going to put the Bell Haunt in my hand, just as another way to gain life next turn. Okay, the opponent has a shock, and they're still going face. You can see, they really still think that burning me out is the way. So do I put the Plague Crafter back in the graveyard? I think if I keep it on the board, the opponent will have to do something about it, because it represents a lethal threat. So can the opponent deal 7? 7's a lot. It would be hard. Let's see what they can do. They're going to start with a Radical Idea. Good game. I agree. That was a battle. Boom. The attacking with creatures thing is going. We have 30 red or green and 40 land. So the red and green spells we'll have to get around to. Do I still have a red and green deck to work on? I think I do. I think I still got a Gruul deck that I gotta build. I gotta tune. Sorry. If you haven't watched many of my series, tuning, crafting, and ladder. We've been doing a lot of the tuning, and I'll continue to until we've tuned most of the intro decks. After that, the tuning will calm down because we won't have as many decks to build. We'll have to unlock more decks. And then there'll be a lot more ladder. A lot more ladder. And hopefully, God willing, more crafting as we continue to get more gold and wild cards. Alright. All we gotta do is draw a swamp, and it's a pretty good hand. Being on the play, it's a little slow, but on the play, it's not too slow. If it were on the draw, I'd be worried. Opponent will open with a Temple of Silence to get their scry on. And to the bottom, and the black mana right on cue. Next turn, Ministrant. Turn after that, probably a Bell Haunt. As we get this Kai's Wrath ready to roll. Oh my goodness. And a Blood for Bones. We're just going to stockpile some value here. If our opponent's on a control deck, then we're just kind of a slow, awkward beatdown deck. And that's not great. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Alright, Ministrant of Obligation. Go make them feel obligated. Go use the power of guilt. Get Catholic on them. No intent to necessarily offend Catholics. Y'all are really into guilt, though. I'm married to one. I have a lot of experience with a very Catholic family. Oh, discards Villas, Broker of Blood. Oh no, what if they're a Reanimator deck? An Embodiment of Agonies, 1/1 flying Death Touch. Do we attack? I think so, because Blood for Bones can just bring it all back. Bring it all back, bring it all back, bring it all back. All right, let's do a value Blood for Bones. This is pretty sweet. We get to sacrifice the Ministrant of Obligation. Make 2 1/1s. Bring the Bellhunt back to the battlefield. Bring the Ministrant back to the hand. Get that enters the battlefield trigger again. And now there's a Maw of Flame in the great. Okay, it's definitely a Reanimator deck. And that's very bad for my make you discard, make you sacrifice deck. I don't know. We're in a tough spot, but our opponent might be missing a color. They might be missing land drops. Their draw may not be coming together, so we have a chance. Never mind. Spawn of Mayhem. What were your plays to get Spectacle, I wonder? I don't know. So, Cavalier Knight can come down. Sacrifice. Ideally, in a perfect world, I get the Ministrant back out there and sacrifice that. I just don't think we have the time. And since we're trying to beat the opponent down before they can do big, powerful stuff from their graveyard, I'm going straight for the face. We're going to keep the Bellhaunt on the field and attack with him. Try to get the opponent dead before they get to pull off this nonsense. Temple of Triumph. Okay, if they have Bond of Revival and they kept on top, we can guess something bad is happening next turn. Something very bad. So having some 1/1s to block with, just having a Seraph of Scales on the battlefield would be nice. I can Blood for Bones back. Nothing yet. We don't have a Playcrafter. That was last game. Oopsie. Play too much Magic. I think that what we do here is attack. Try to keep the pressure up. If the opponent wants to trade with the Cav of Night, that's great. If they want to force something else into the graveyard, Blood for Bones can get it back. Then I think we play the Seraph. Because if Seraph dies, we make some tokens, which might be able to block the Drakuseth or pressure the opponent. Down to 5. So close. 31 life over here. If we can find some Cruel Celebrants, maybe using this Bolas's Citadel to find them, it could be a really awesome ending if we have Kaya's Wrath with some Cruel Celebrants out to drain the opponent. Shalai, that's not a Reanimator spell, but it is good protection in the air. And there's the land off the top. So I think what we do is play the Citadel and dig. I don't think the opponent will interact with the Citadel very well. If there's just a land on top, it's pretty sad, but here we go. Of course it's a land. It has to be a land. So I like holding back the creatures here. I don't like going in for the attack. I don't want to trade off. I want to save my death triggers. I want to find Teysa or something like that. Here's Mortify. Sure. Make those tokens, so we still have some flying blockers. You don't have Trample. Nope. All right, Midnight Reaper. Land off the top, untapped. That's not bad. Mortify. Sure, get him. Oh. And the opponent will scoop it up to that. They would be going to 2, but I think we could finish the game. We could play Ministrant of Obligation, for example, sacrifice it to Blood for Bones, draw extra cards with the Reaper, and the opponent knows they're just going to get buried in card advantage. No black mana. Let's send it away. Being on the play is a lot worse than being on the draw when you try to draw a specific land. So let's keep this 6. And I have learned in another video that you always bottom lands because you draw plenty more for whatever reason. We'll see if that pans out, but I'm going to be aggressive with bottoming the lands here and just plan to draw more. Could wreck me. I made a video where basically I kept 3 landers and 3 spells off my London mulligans and then proceeded to draw 3 lands off the top in every single game. This happened about 3 times in one video. And there you go! Look at this. Let's attack first. The opponent might be too afraid to block. You never know. Give him a chance. Alright. Let's bring out the Obligation. opponent playing green mana so far, possibly mono green, means the Celebrants may not die. And if the Celebrants don't die, and we can gum up the board with some Afterlife creatures, could be really good. So the opponent right now can block both of our attacks, but I think we do it anyway just to see if they'll bite or if they're afraid to block with any of their ramp creatures. I highly doubt they are, but it's worth taking a shot. Oh wow. See, there you go. Too afraid to block. They have something big they're about to play. Some big creature that they want on the battlefield very badly. Possibly multiple. They still have 5 freaking cards in hand after all. Evolution Sage. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, proliferate. But right now there are no +1/+1 counters on anything. Karn the Great Creator. What does Karn get? What does Karn do against a bunch of little creatures? Probably not too much. I think you want, like, I don't know, something that goes well with the proliferate. What are we doing? Plus, the opponent doesn't want Karn to die, because we can attack Karn with all these things. Okay, 7's a lot, but do what you gotta do, I guess. Third Celebrant. Die, Karn. We'll see how the opponent wants to block. They might just eat a Celebrant here, but then they do take a lot of drain.
My retribution will be swift.
Pew, 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 pew. Down to 14. With the Bellhaunt about to come down, but I would say we're behind. Like, firmly behind in this game. Our opponent's probably going to go get the God Pharaoh's statue or whatever the card is. And they have a lot of blockers, so we're not getting damaged through easily. The Ministrant can be blanked by the Leafkin Druid. God Pharaoh's statue will keep us from casting a lot of things. Nope, it's Guardians. They're going to go for the Guardian Wall. Guardian Wall is pretty fun. You play this, you bounce the Karn, you play the Karn again, you do it over and over. And in the meantime, you get a 4/4 with every cycle. And now what? Okay. Ooh, Priest. That is a card that can get us back in the game if the opponent can't kill it or fetch a Sorcerer's Spyglass with Karn. That is a card that can do it. If they have a Sorcerer's Spyglass for our Priest, though, that's sad times. But we have to try. It is a rare. It is from Ixalan. Not everybody crafts that card. Ixalan, I should have said. Meteor Golem, that's not a bad one either. That will do. Of course, if we draw Blood for Bones, we're right back in it. Is it really necessary to manual tap that out? I guess you gotta be sure. Trigger, trigger. So we really want to transform this Ministrant. So I guess attacking for 2 here is pretty good. Because if we have the Spirits, then we have a way to pressure the opponent in the air. And they take it. Bellhaunt, gain some life, discard a card. Another Karn bites the dust. At this point, we just need lucky pulls. Our opponent has access to pretty much a card every turn thanks to Evolution Sage. Can just keep putting counters on the Karn or get more Guardians. So the opponent's going to keep getting awesome artifacts. And there's a good one, God Pharaoh's statue. That's one of the things we were afraid of earlier. It makes our spells cost 2 more to play. So if we draw even our big spells, we can't play them. It's pretty painful. It also drains us for 1, but we have a long way to go before that hurts us too badly. Another elf. Ooh, that's a big flyer. Can the opponent deal? Right now they have a Leafkin Druid and they have an Elfhelm Druid. They can block these without anything dying. They can't do that for the Bellhaunt, though. So this, basically, they have to chump away an O2, or they give me triggers. If they give me triggers, then their life total is lower, and Seraph of the Scales only needs 2 hits to win. By the way, we can't play the Seraph of the Scales. Just remember that. Talked about it earlier, still forgot. Yeah. That hurts. That leaves a mark.
I will not lose another friend.
Frickin' Karn. Grafdigger's Cage. Shutting down my graveyard. There's nothing kind of giving away that that's my strategy, but maybe the opponent's just being super cautious about it. Also, I wonder if I hadn't attacked with my Cruel Celebrant earlier, if I'd be in a much better spot. What? Yeah, can't play it anyway. Oh, it hurts. It hurts a lot. I was just gonna laugh at the Grafdigger's Cage, but I would sacrifice this even if I couldn't get anything back. They can't enter the battlefield, but they could go back to hand. But yeah, this game is just sliding away very fast now. The Tendershoot Dryad was a huge draw. It lets the opponent go wide around our battlefield and create exponential amounts of power to attack us down. Bag of Holding. Draw a card, discard a card. 4 mana, return all cards exiled. And if ever you would discard a card, exile it instead. Yep. Yep. So they should use it even when they have an empty hand. Play Crafta. Alright, finally, we sacrifice this Ministrant of Obligation and make some flying action. Drain him. Anytime. You've got a lot to sacrifice. It's not that hard. All right, trigger. There's some flyers. No attack skis. But the opponent's in this awkward spot where attacking me, I could block some things, so they can't attack me yet. They need to have enough creatures to kill me before these triggers go and hit the stack. Okay, Nissa. I mean, you can get Nissa if you like. Dang you, Seraph of the Scales. Why couldn't you have come one turn ahead of this Godpharaoh statue? Curse you! They're shaking the world. Opponent had 2 Nissas in a row on top of their deck. Must be nice. I have no doubt. I have no doubt I shall get conquered. But we need the opponent to goofball and attack. That's what we really need. Just a little goofball and attack. Just do something a little silly. Come on, dude. Let's do this. Oh my god. And they're being selective. Okay. I mean, you just die, right? If nothing happens to my Cruel Celebrants, my opponent is dead. Yeah, let's kill you via Cruel Celebrant triggers, shall we? We could even block with the Celebrants and get those triggers. Boom. Put them on the stack. Hit resolve all. And that's game. Holy cow. Why did they attack? Guess they were scared. Scoured Barons, stuff and things. Let's go. Why not? Slow hand. Still gonna try to do the things. Temple of Mystery. To the bottom. Alright, well. Now I could turn one Hunted Witness if I wanted. I just don't think that gains me much. Rather play the Scoured Barons. Hello. What you up to over here? Rugged Highlands. Elementals. Scape Shift. What nonsense are we up against? Alright, let's get out the Celebrant. And then next turn we can play the Barons and a Witness. And then after that, Bell Haunts and Seraphs and hope for the best. Not Risen Reefs. Incubation Druid. Let the party begin. May you draw no Risen Reefs in your deck. Just none. Alright. Enforcer. A little bit of Death Touch. A little bit of life. And we play the tap land to set up for one of these next turn. I'm guessing the Seraph. I'm guessing damage in the air is what needs to happen. No! And then the game ended. And then the opponent buried me in a pile of evil value. Never to return. Just makes me so angry. Risen Reef triggers with other elementals is just so bad, and my deck isn't set up to battle that. Like, Plaguecrafter doesn't do anything about it, obviously. So we'll play the Flyer, just try to get there. I guess I could attack with my Enforcer. Yeah, our opponent's only got 28 life. We have to start somewhere. We have to chip away somehow. The opponent could double block with the healers, and then at least some of them go to the graveyard? No. So, how many elementals can you play this turn to trigger Risen Reef 15 times? Don't worry, we're going to make our own budget elemental deck at some point, probably in the crafting process. They're not too expensive to make, and if you draw 2 Risen Reefs, you win the game. It's kind of adorable. What a great card. Just draw 1,000,000 cards, play out your whole deck. It's glorious. It's what every Magic player should aspire to be. Okay, the lands keep on coming. I think our best hope is to get there with Absolution. Anyway. Let's bring some more pain. And the opponent says, I will take it. Not feeling threatened in my life total. Feeling very secure, very sure of myself. Alright, Bell Haunt, yeah. Discard one of those 1,000,000 cards you drew immediately. An Absolution with a basic land off the top. Who knows? Who knows? It's the one hope. That's not good. When our opponent discards this card, it often means they have Thunderkin Awakener to bring it back. So, hold on to your butts. And by the way, that will be draw 1,000,000 cards if they do. Fiddling around with their cards. What do I do? I could literally play 1,000,000 things and draw all kinds of stuff, but how do I do it the best way? Icon of Ancestry. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. The elementals are now too big for the Ethereal Absolution. The third Risen Reef. This is what just no hope feels like, my friends. This is the absolute pain. The worst pain. Don't suppose you'd like to pay 2 life and help me out, no? It's a tapped land. It's a tapped land. Alright, we'll play you first. We'll give up on our hunted witness. You're not good enough. Opponent will probably give up a healer of the glade. They're only 1 freaking mana after all. We get a little bit of trigger action. We can give you vigilance. And we can attack. May as well. Okay, opponent will trade another Healer of Glade. So I didn't think they'd want to trade another Healer of the Glade after seeing the Plague Crafter, that there might be more of those in the deck, but they did. Can't say I'm upset about that. And now we have another flyer to try to pressure that life total. Gotta get rid of that icon. I don't think I have anything in the deck for it. Can't solve everything in Standard. Gotta solve the things you expect to play against the most. But, man, that's a frustrating one. In the tank. You got 1 timeout. I wouldn't be sad if you just kicked your turn to me. But if you have an elemental, don't you play it? Like, it's that simple, right? And if you don't, you Icon of Ancestry to find one? Oh. Well, you just steal my best cards. That's an option too. That's nice. Fair fight. Alright. Let's get Ethereal up in this. And I guess we get some attacks in. Might as well. Keep up the pressure. The opponent will get 1/1s from the Seraph, but they'll immediately die to the Absolution. I would prefer to have the other Celebrant out there, but I feel it's important enough to get the Absolution down here to pressure the opponent. They're not going to want to block with the Risen Reefs. Down to 8. Trigger, trigger. Down to 7. Just trying to plow through ya. Creatures in the graveyard can be targeted by the Absolution's ability to make more flying spirits. Are you telling me there's a chance? There's never a chance. Not against 3 Risen Reefs. Oh my god. They could have done this before, I think, and just delayed it to make me feel as bad as possible. Man, that Icon of Ancestry is such a beating here. Can you imagine if they didn't have exactly that card? Still, what if we draw Kaya's Wrath? 2 Celebrants and a Kaya's Wrath is game. No matter how many cards they have in their hand, unless they gain life. Okay.
I know who I am, and no one is telling me what to do.
You take 3 from this.
Get out of my way. You know, don't.
Down to 4. Down to 27 for my part. Here's another Celebrant. Pass turn. You can make a 2/2 at instant speed. If the opponent doesn't have a flyer, it's hard to block. That's annoying. Must be nice. 1 mana, gain 3 life, draw 3 cards. At the end of the day, no matter what, you can't feel too mad. I mean, you can. It's up to you. But our opponent drew 3 Risen Reefs. Like, we're facing one of the best draws their deck could supply. I do wish they'd get on with it. They should absolutely be able to ruin me. I would like to see them just get it done. Omnath kills the Celebrant. All you have to do is hit resolve here. Omnath, trigger, draw a card, put a counter on something. 25 cards in the deck. The opponent may deck themselves out of fun. For fun and profit. Unlikely, probably. But basically, the most greatest of showboating. The greatest of showboating at this stage, but you guys get a chance to see what the Elemental deck can do, I suppose. Maybe someone out there will enjoy that. There's always 2x speed or skip to the end for the rest of you. Not making a 2/2 to block here. We'll make it on end step. Try to keep the opponent from targeting it with the Chandra. That has reach. That's pretty strong. Anytime. Anytime. $11 cards to go, but certainly a board capable of winning the game next turn. Although Akaya's Wrath would probably make things interesting for a second. Oh my gosh, you're drawing 3 more. That's so aggressive. I mean, we could hope the opponent decks themselves. It's not absurd. Especially with elementals. Like, the way that these just pile up and go crazy is absolutely insane. Alright, we still have an activated Chandra. Would you like to plus your Chandra now? Good job.
No pressure.
Alright, let's get rid of a Scorcher. Make a 2/2. We're not even attacking with it, though, at this point. Just running into a Cavalier, after all. But we'll make the opponent discard a whole bunch of cards. Which ones don't I want? All the lands are on the battlefield. It makes the choosing so hard. Overgrowth Elemental, Chandra's Ambercat. Land. Yep. Really good stuff. Darn it! Ugh. Double icon, because, like I said, showboating required. Must maximum showboat. What else you got? Is that all you can do? Alright. Let's make some blockers. Who wants to die? I guess we'll just get rid of you as well. We don't want the opponent to lose their Risen Reefs. We want them to still accidentally deck themselves out of Arrogance. But I don't think we can really live. So we're just going to block down the 7/8, the 4/4, and the 4/4. Just the most expensive things we could possibly block. Takes us to 2. A Chandra's Emblem is lethal, if the opponent remembers to make it. What do you guys think? Will they remember? I mean, that works too. It's only, I mean, could have done that first. It'd be fine. I guess you're scared of decking? I don't know. Whatever, dude. Whatever you like. That'll do. What a game. That is what happens when you don't kill the Risen Reefs. Regardless, though, I've had a lot of fun playing the Orzhov Syndicate deck. There's some neat synergies, and it's a pretty fun build. I would rank it among, like, kind of the top half of the decks I've done so far, as there is removal, so you don't have to feel dead to everything, unless, of course, you don't draw it. And there's some sweet stuff that you can do with Cruel Celebrant. So I would recommend tuning up and playing the Orzhov Syndicate deck for some good times. Thank you for watching this video. As always, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.